Hey there guys, it's CyberUltra here. I wanted to start off the year by making a video where I predict all of Nintendo during 2022. I know that I'm a little bit late to the trend, but I just wanted to make this video so that I can look back at my predictions at the end of 2022. Last year, my video was mostly just going over whatever predictions came to my head, but this year, I wanted to predict the whole year month by month and give concrete release dates for everything, so I can either look back and realize that I'm a psychic, or to just look back and laugh. It'll probably be the latter. Keep in mind that I'm predicting an entire year, and that's basically impossible. I'm bound to be wrong in some ways, or maybe in every way. Let's get into it. January. As per usual, January isn't going to have too much in the form of announcements. Since I couldn't finish this video in time, there was already a new trailer for Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which revealed its release date as March. In terms of games, we're getting a huge release in the form of a brand new Pokemon game. Not a remake, not a spin-off, and not a new generation either. Instead, we're going to ancient Sinnoh, known as the Hisui region, on January 28th. Something as huge as this would usually be a holiday title, but surprisingly, we're getting it during the first month of the year. February. Although I don't think we're getting any Nintendo published games this month, I do predict that it's when the first Nintendo Direct of the year will happen. I don't see one happening in January. I also don't see one happening in March, as that month has two major titles being released at the start and end of the month respectively. We've seen Directs in March before, but I think it would make the month overcrowded this year, which is why I predict February. That's what we got in 2019 and in 2021. As for the exact release date, I predict that it'll be on Wednesday, February 16th. In terms of announcements, here's what I think we'll get in the Direct. Your regular third-party and indie announcements, a trailer for Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, giving it a Friday, April 8th release date, a full trailer for Triangle Strategy, as well as a mention of Kirby and the Forgotten Land during a sizzle reel. I also think we'll get a full Splatoon 3 trailer, with the game getting a release date for Friday, July 29th, nearly 5 years after the launch of Splatoon 2. Since it's so early in the year, I don't expect to see much beyond the first half of the year within the Direct, which is what they usually do. But I do think that there's one game releasing during the first half of the year that they haven't revealed yet, which would get its release date during this Direct. That game being Tomodachi Life. It was a wild success on 3DS, even in the West. I have fond memories of the game from elementary school, and I think it makes sense to put a deluxe version of the 3DS game on Switch. My prediction is that it would be released on Friday, May 13th. Finally, after an entire Direct focusing on first-party titles releasing in the first half of the year, as well as many third-party and indie announcements, they have to finish with some sort of hype announcement for the second half of the year. My prediction is the announcement of a full remake of Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War, with a release date announced for fall 2022. It'll have been 3 years since Fire Emblem Three Houses, and I think Intelligent Systems is due to release a remake. Genealogy has never been officially released in the West, so many players, including myself, have never gotten the chance to play it. I know some friends who have played it and they absolutely love it. Aside from the Direct, I don't think we're getting anything else in February. March. Since there was just a Direct in February, I don't expect to see any major announcements in March. Instead, I think all of Nintendo's focus will be on their two major titles. The first one being Triangle Strategy from Square Enix, which is officially confirmed to be releasing on March 4th, and then Kirby and the Forgotten Land, which also has an official release date being March 25th. Most of the month will be spent marketing those games. I think that both of them have a lot of potential to sell really well, especially the 3D Kirby game, which we haven't really seen in the past. April. 2 months after the release date announcement from the February Direct, Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp will see its release on Friday, April 8th. It'll have a moderate marketing push, but Nintendo won't give it enough attention and just let it do okay. I'm hoping I'm wrong about this, but Nintendo isn't exactly great at reviving dead franchises, unfortunately. Outside of that, I think April is when we'll see our first Indie World presentation of the year. I think it'll be on Wednesday, April 13th, and my prediction is that it will finally be the one. That's right. I think after a pretty good presentation showing off some cool indie games, it'll end off with Silksong. People have been waiting for ages, and I think April will be when we finally see it. May. This is the month right before E3, so things start to get a little bit hectic with the fans. We're going to start to see all sorts of speculation videos, people will discuss what they think will show up at E3, and many really obviously fake rumors will spread, which YouTubers will just eat up to get their clickbait videos out there. Nintendo will also announce their E3 schedule, which will be pretty standard. No big tournaments or anything like the past because of COVID. It'll just be a solid date and time for the E3 Nintendo Direct, as well as the announcement of Nintendo Treehouse Live. May is also the month where we'll see the release of Tomodachi Life on Friday, May 13th. There will be jokes about how it's releasing on Friday the 13th, which will just get people talking about it more, in turn just making people more hyped for it. June. June is of course the month of E3. I don't expect to see any game releases, but there will be plenty of exciting announcements. The first of which will be before the Nintendo Direct presentation actually even happens. I think that Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope will get a new trailer and a release date during the Ubisoft E3 press conference. It'll be released on Friday, August 26th. Now for the main event. Here's what I think we'll get during Nintendo's E3 presentation. First, it'll open up with a variety trailer showing a bunch of games that are already out, as well as some new third-party titles. It'll mainly be focused on showing off the Nintendo Switch OLED and Lite hardware being used in different locations. It'll be similar to the one that kicked off E3 2017. Then it'll show Shinya Takahashi and Yoshiaki Koizumi, who will thank players for enjoying Nintendo Switch, and they'll acknowledge that the console has surpassed 100 million units in sales. Then they'll go straight into Nintendo Switch headlines, which will cover the usual stuff. It'll show plenty of third-party content, some relevant indie games here and there, as well as the good first-party stuff fans love. This will include a new trailer for Splatoon 3 and remind people that it's releasing on July 29th. We'll also see more of Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak with a brand new trailer. There will also be two major release date trailers, one for Bayonetta 3 revealing that the game is coming out on Friday, October 14th, and the other for Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War remake releasing on Friday, September 2nd. And then, coming to the end of the Direct, we'll see a teaser trailer for a brand new game releasing in 2023, being Super Mario Odyssey 2. I think that the Odyssey team has definitely been working on something, and I don't think it's a Donkey Kong game. I think it's a direct sequel to Super Mario Odyssey, where Mario and Cappy go to different parts of kingdoms we already know, as well as plenty of brand new kingdoms. It'll be Nintendo's 2023 holiday title. It'll have already been a phenomenal E3 Direct, but everyone will still be waiting, knowing that there's one major game they still haven't talked about, being of course, the sequel to Breath of the Wild. The Direct will end with an incredibly in-depth trailer for the game, revealing its title and release date. It'll be released on Friday, November 18th. The trailer will be followed by Aonuma giving a synopsis of the game's premise and thanking fans for waiting patiently. Takahashi and Koizumi will then close out the Direct, and it'll transition straight into Nintendo Treehouse Live, where they'll begin with live gameplay of the new Zelda game. Fans will lose their minds, and it will go down as one of the greatest Nintendo Directs of all time. July. This will be the month that's all about pushing Splatoon 3, especially because the franchise is such a huge deal in Japan. Early in the month, there will be a dedicated Splatoon 3 Direct that goes into detail about game modes, the campaign, all of the new features, the reveal of the game's new idols, as well as an announcement for the Splatoon 3 Global Test Fire, which will be a chance for Nintendo to test the servers and for fans to get their hands on the game a little bit early. Then, the game will launch on Friday, July 29th and end up being an absolute hit, being one of their best-selling titles of 2022. August. This month will see the release of Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak, as well as Mario + Rabbids Sparks of Hope, the latter of which will be released on Friday, August 26th. I think the game will do pretty well. People really enjoyed the first one, and the sequel is releasing at a time where the install base of the Switch is over 100 million, which means plenty of more potential buyers this time around. This month will also have the second Indie World presentation of the year. It'll have some good games here and there when it takes place on Thursday, August 11th. September. This is a huge month. It'll start off with the release of Fire Emblem Genealogy of the Holy War Remake on Friday, September 2nd. The game will then be hit with incredible reviews, and it'll sell really well for a Fire Emblem game, but not as well as Three Houses, since it's a remake. Then we'll get our usual last direct of the year taking place on Thursday, September 15th. We'll see Game Boy games revealed for the Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack members. The selection won't be great at first, but it'll slowly grow over time. Pokemon titles will be the main draw at launch. We'll also see our last huge trailer for Bayonetta 3, which will get people really pumped for the game's launch in the following month. Splatoon 3 will get a trailer for a big free update, including a couple of new maps and many new weapons. During Nintendo Direct headlines, we'll get a good amount of third-party and indie content. We'll also see a cameo from Miyamoto during the Direct, where he'll let viewers know that the trailer for the Super Mario movie will be releasing later that month, and he'll give an exact date and time for fans to tune in for the premiere of the trailer. We'll also get another trailer for the sequel to Breath of the Wild that'll make people lose their minds, and get even more hyped for its launch in November. Finally, the Direct will end with the reveal trailer for Xenoblade Chronicles 3, slated for a 2023 release date. It'll be in Japanese with English subtitles, since the game won't be far enough along to have English voice acting. The premise will be really interesting, the art style will look incredible, and people will absolutely lose their minds. And it would be the perfect conclusion to the Direct. Later on in the month, the Mario movie trailer would debut. Everyone will love it, and people will be making memes about the absurdity of certain parts of the trailer. The people getting hyped for this movie won't just be dedicated Nintendo fans, but everyone. It'll be really mainstream, and it will branch out their intellectual property to reach so many more people. October. After all of the unreal announcements throughout the year, Nintendo will end off the year with a strong holiday season. The first part of that is the launch of the long-anticipated Bayonetta 3 on Friday, October 14th. Critics will love it, fans will have their minds blown, and thanks to launching on the Switch, it'll quickly become the best-selling Bayonetta game there is. We won't see anything in terms of major announcements this month. November. This is it. After a long wait, people will finally get their hands on the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on Friday, November 18th. The game will be hit with critical acclaim, and reviewers will praise it as being the greatest Zelda game of all time. It'll be a phenomenal experience to play through the game, and it'll break sales records for the Zelda series. December. Finally, the last month of the year. First, there will be an Indie World presentation which people will be happy with. Then, we'll have the Game Awards. Nintendo's involvement in the Game Awards has always depended on if they have something they want to show to the entire industry. That's why we've gotten huge third-party Smash reveals and games like Bayonetta and Zelda rather than things like Kirby. However, I do think that there is a franchise they'll want to show off this year. I think it's finally time, and that we're going to get a trailer for Metroid Prime 4. It won't be a lot, but it will feature some cinematic shots as well as a little bit of gameplay. There won't be a release year given, and it'll be a long time until we see the game again after that. I think they're due to show the game purely because by then it'll have been almost 4 years since development restarted, and I do think that after 4 years they should have something to show fans. I also think Zelda will be nominated for Game of the Year alongside a bunch of huge titles. I do think though that whatever the competition is, Zelda will be such a huge hitting title that the game will still manage to win the Game of the Year award and end off an amazing year for Nintendo. In terms of games, because there is one last thing we know about, which is of course the Super Mario movie. It's releasing where I live on December 21st, and it'll be a huge deal. People will love it, and Chris Pratt as Mario will provide some hilarious moments. And that's it for the video. Wow, this one was packed with a lot of stuff. Of course, I expect 99% of this to be wrong, but I still thought it would be fun to make this video. Even if a single release date I predicted in this video turns out to be correct, I'll be happy, but I do realize that it's pretty unlikely. Anyways, if you watched this all the way, thanks for sticking around. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and hit the subscribe button if you haven't. It really helps out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.